Hello, and welcome to our weekly cybersecurity briefing. We are going to get started. Thank you for being here today. So, to cover our agenda, like always, we go over an introduction, current cybersecurity landscape, recent cyber attacks and breaches, cybersecurity best practices, FTC safeguard compliances. If there is anything relevant or up to date that you need to know about, we will bring it to you, and we'll have our closing statements. So, who am I? I'm Garrett. I'm the CEO here at Vandernet. We're a cybersecurity focused IT solutions company. We say we enable your business to grow securely, reclaim your time, and outsmart your competition. We'd love to talk to you more about that. We focus primarily on the financial services industry, both being accounting and wealth management firms. We're focused on the US central region of the United States. So, everything changed in COVID. Cyber attacks have gone way up and they continue to go way up. So today, current cybersecurity landscape, the latest trends, threats, and developments in cybersecurity with a focus on how they impact you. And you say, how do they impact me? Well, if you own a business, it could impact your business. If you're middle management, it could make things harder for you. Or if you say, I just show up, I work here, it could make things harder for you too. We welcome everybody here. We're here to educate. We're here to make everybody aware of what's going on in the world. It's 15 to 20 minutes to get you the information you need and to get you back to work. So the first thing that I would like to cover or go over today is Iran is to blame for hacking into Trump's campaign, intelligence officials say. So this is crazy because a lot of times when we think about cybersecurity threats, we think about hackers after the money. But one of the things that is under talked about is nation states, where literally rules go out the window and they are trying to compromise America in regard to the democracy that we have. And if they can play an intrinsic part on influencing votes or outcomes, then in some aspects, it's part of their foreign policy in regard to manipulating who's in position or control of our country. And that's a huge threat to our government, where we as voters or citizens get to show up and vote and show up to the polls and say who we want to be in office. When you have nation states at large trying to interfere with that, it now is it's affecting our freedom as citizens of the United States. And so, I think a lot of times we think hackers are after the money. They're also, depending upon what type of hacker it is, they want to control the government or they control the outcome or the for our foreign policy. And so how do they get into controlling our foreign policy is hacking election cycles or persuading public opinion one way or the other based on feeding lies into the general populace of the internet. And so we have to be aware of these things. We're not just fighting normal hackers, we're fighting nation states. And so we have to be in a position where our cybersecurity is not just focused to keep just the hackers out, but to keep foreign governments out of your network, because they're after whatever influence or control that they can have as a position over the United States to influence the government. And that's why our government, the United States of America, has invested heavily in cybersecurity and continues to invest heavily in cybersecurity, which should also mean that you should be thinking about how can I position dollars to securing the information that I collect and protecting my entity. So be thinking about that. Now we're going to cover recent cyber attacks and breaches, analysis of notable cyber attacks, breaches, highlighting key takeaways and lessons learned. So just like any big name brand, Toyota confirms third-party data breach impacting customers. So we could go and look at this article, which we will. Let's go check it out right now and dig a little deeper into it. So Toyota, so they confirm that there is a data breach situation, but they're also saying that it wasn't of their network. They're saying it's a third party data. But when inquired or asked, like, what third party has access to all of this information that was collected and posted on the dark web, 240 gigs of data, which third party it was, Toyota did not comment on that. And once you read the article, you start to realize that some of the data was posted as of like 2021 on the date. This is a little snippet on the dark web of what a Zero server group, Toyota branch in US, 240 gig. They're trying to sell that data and information right now. But the data that was collected in there, okay, it was says stolen, created on December 25th of 2022. So the date could indicate that the threat actor gained access to a backup server where the data was stored. This is a key takeaway. If there's anything, I've got a lot of stuff for us today, but if there's anything you take away from today, you need to be not only protecting your live environment, but you need to be protecting your backup environment, making sure that MFA is enabled in any of those secondary locations, because a lot of times we're so focused on protecting the primary source of our data and information that it's easier to access that backup information for a hacker to come in and steal that data. So they don't have to steal the live data if they have access to nearly live data in a backup repository. So be sure that your backups or whoever's responsible for that is backing those up securely so they're not easily accessible. And always keep in mind that in the potential event of a breach, those backups could be seen as additional copies that you could be held liable for as well. So that's essentially what's happened here potentially is the backup. They maybe acquired a backup or a server hanging out there. So Toyota's obviously got to deal with some of this stuff, which is a big deal. Next, we're going to talk about a major backdoor in RF cards that allow instant cloning. You know, many corporate America buildings, many multi-tenant buildings are using RFID readers for the cards, for the prox cards. And so as it is no difference in multi-tenant multi-housing buildings or in corporate America or commercial buildings, RFIDs are widely used. And there's a group that has figured out how to compromise those cards. And it's very technical. I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of this, but there's a little example of a card. They figured out how to clone them really quickly. All you have to be is within your presence. So it's extremely important. I say that a lot, but if you are using this technology, you need to have other safeguards in place, like a deadbolt. So where during the day, maybe prox cards your primary in and out of your building, but at night you need to have manual like deadbolt systems in addition to that to prevent additional access if somebody was able to clone one of your ID cards and get into the necessary places. Secure your perimeters much more solid than just the prox cards in the evening at night. So that's pretty much what the article says is they figured out how to reverse engineer it and copy it. And then next thing you know, you have cyber criminals in your business that you had no idea that they were coming after you. But because they're coming in usually when you're not there, and then they have free reign of the building. Something else to note is also have an alarm system that's not tied in or it's a separate system. It adds an additional layer to the protection. So even if they were able to use the prox card, get into the initial entryway of the building, alarms would sound and police hopefully would show up. So that's important to note. Ransomware on track. This is my last thing for you today. Ransomware is on track for profit, like record profits, even over fewer victims pay, which is interesting. So they're going for a quality game instead of a quantity game. Less people are paying the ransom, but they're paying more money. So let's check this out. So if I scroll up here, it says ransomware payments in 2024 are on track to once again hit record total value, even as fewer victims are choosing to pay. It says the blockchain intelligence firm revealed in the report published earlier this year that the total ransom payments exceed 1 billion globally for the first time in 2023. In the mid-year report in 2024, it says that it is on track or even to exceed last year's numbers. So it says while the total global ransomware inflows only increased 2% from 449 million to 459 million between the first half of 2023 and the first half of 2024, the cost of individual payments show more drastic shifts in trends. So it said traditionally, old like 2023 historic payments were like around the 200,000, a little less than $200,000 in payments, but now they're seeing it increase over 8 times, eightfold. So from 1 million to eightfold of that, 200,000, which is how we exceed the payments of $1 million. So whereas maybe people are getting smarter and not as many people are paying the ransom. Ransoms are still being paid, which is a huge problem. Don't pay a ransom. Don't pay a ransom. Have the necessary systems in place to mitigate that, so you don't have to. And on a proactive stance instead of a reactive stance. But if you ever got yourself into a situation like that, you wouldn't want to pay the ransom anyways. So the way to avoid that would be to make sure you have good continuity plan, good incident response plan. Got to get those bad guys out of there, and don't pay the ransom. But it sounds like the ransoms that are being paid are actually higher ransoms. So don't be there. So cybersecurity best practice is the last thing I'll leave you off with today. And the big idea is cybersecurity as a competitive advantage. You're like, what? Say what? Cybersecurity as a competitive advantage. The big idea today is that if you're going to spend money on cybersecurity and have cybersecurity in place, and like us at Vandernet, we have multi layers to our cybersecurity approach. Use that as a marketing advantage to your current customers for retention and for future customers as you're prospecting newer customers every single day. You're able to say you partner with a firm that has a multi-level strategy when it comes to cybersecurity, and maybe that firm would talk on your behalf to your customers and say, or prospects, and explain the depth and care that you take when it comes to customer data and protecting that information. It's super important, super, super important. So, in an age where data breaches are daily news, robust security can also be a selling point. Think about it. Is your company leveraging its security posture as a competitive edge? That's what I leave for you today. Be thinking about that. Because if you're not, it's free marketing. You know, having a good cybersecurity posture isn't free, but why not use it as an advantage to propel your company into the future? And that's why we would love to invite you to come talk to us. You can email dkane@vandernet.io, or you can go to the bit.ly/rethink secured to schedule a free 15-minute cybersecurity strategy session. We'd love to get to know you and figure out ways that maybe we can help you. We just want to say thanks for being here. Your time is important to us. That's why it's super important that we're trying to bring you the most important things that you need to know and to get you back to work. And we'll plan to see you next week, next Thursday, 1:30. We do this every week on Thursdays at 1:30 Central Standard Time. And we'll see you then.